These are emails confirming online purchases Adarsh made using the card. Email confirmations are normally sent by merchants as a safety precaution, but Adarsh had access to their computer, and he snagged them to cover his actions. I'll have Brass check in with Visa. This is a wake-up call. The slipper with the asphalt mark matches the muddy footprint, meaning Mrs. Bandery called on her daughter after discovering Mr. Bandery had bought it.
I called Visa. Good folks over there. And they said Visa's continuous monitoring program detected suspicious activity. Mr. Dwan was changing the shipping address, sending items to his home and back to India. Not your model employee. Footprint evidence provides a clean link between her home and the crime scene. Plus, we got a possible motive thanks to the answering machine tape. Enough for a warrant.
Why do you stupid people insist on wasting time searching my house when I've already told you who to investigate? In the meantime, my mother is on the verge of a nervous breakdown, and the killer is running free. I don't have another word for you.
Cool. We work well when it's quiet. We'll start with your fingerprints.
Ugh.
You're close. Try something similar. Looks like Ms. Bandery has a few more words for us after all. Secret ones, but words. So our Vic was responsible for his wife's blindness. Bloody fingerprint belongs to the daughter. That puts her at the crime scene when her father was murdered. The Vic has a swimming pool. Let's go back and see if we can answer the big question. What's it all about, algae? Pool house is separate from the main residence. Don't think our warrant covers it. Let's look around outside. Good eye catching all those insects. Now let's look at catching the killer. It matches all right. Perfect place for someone to clean up after a little dip.
Based on the blood evidence found in her home and our strengthened motive for the killing, as well as her bloody fingerprint at the crime scene, I'd say getting a warrant's a slam dunk.
All right. My mother was here. She came over right after discovering my father's body. That's where the blood in the sink must have come from.
Okay, but that doesn't tell us how your bloody fingerprint wound up in your parents' house, does it? When you learned your father botched your mother's operation, you saw red. You sneaked in and battered your father and left a bloody print on the way out. By the time your mother discovered the body, you'd already washed up at home in your sink.
That's all backwards and sideways. When my mother discovered my father's body, she freaked out. Hello, she's blind. So she ran over across to me, covered in blood. I left her there, went over to check on father, and of course took his pulse, which is how I got blood on my hand. Get it? I went back to my place and told Mom that Daddy was dead. Really dead. She wouldn't let me call the police. I don't know why, just in shock, I guess. I helped her wash up, and then she had me walk her back home, but then pleaded with me not to stay.
Your mother makes a habit of forgetting such little details.
My mother looks out for me. Doesn't yours? She's way overprotective, and in this case, I just followed her wishes, because she was freaking out. She wanted to spare me, to keep me out of any investigation into this tragedy. But you have to believe me, you are wasting your time down this path. Adarsh, that evil troll, is your killer.
We'll ask the opinion of the evidence, if you don't mind.
Vic's blood at the entrance of the pool house? That makes it part of the crime scene as far as I'm concerned.
Wow, what I would have given for a place like this back in my college days. Somebody's been staying here. The wife, maybe? Odd for such a devoted couple. Blood spatter on this robe is consistent with its wearer delivering medium-impact blows, like those that killed our victim, not somebody just stumbling innocently upon a bloody corpse. This fabric's definitely part of the robe. This confirms the screwdriver was used to open the pool house window. Doesn't bear on our investigation, apparently. That would be a big bingo. Assailant definitely wore this robe during the murder.
Widow Banderit's been lying from the start, maybe covering up for her little girl. Let's get her in here.
Mrs. Banderit, we found a robe in your pool house covered in your husband's blood. Spatter found on the robe is consistent with someone at the scene when your husband was killed, not with contact with the body after the fact. Your daughter was at the crime scene, and we believe she may have worn your robe when she killed your husband.
She did no such thing. I did. I am not about to let you make the wrong assumptions and persecute, much less prosecute, my daughter. Adia has been through quite enough. Thank you. You've talked to people. Surely by now you know what a cold, controlling monster my husband was. And as his wife, I accepted this. But for my lovely daughter, life must be different. She was born here, left home to go to school. And yet, still he tries to control her, manipulating her into an occupation pleasing to him, forcing her to work for him. Adia seemed content with these choices, however pushed upon her they might have been. But when Prayat insisted, no, demanded, Adia marry a man she did not love, a man with the same old-fashioned notions that would mean disrespect and a slavery of sorts for my precious girl. And then, when he threatened to separate Adia from myself, I had no choice but to stop him. What mother wouldn't? And so I killed him. I put him out of our misery. When I learned that that foul snake Adash was in your custody, I thought his karma had caught up with him. But when you begin to suspect my daughter, my innocent child, I must come forward. Jaya will be a small payment for a life of freedom for Adia.
Man, nothing like a confession to make a CSI's day. Even at night.
Hold up. Problem. Daughter's just confessed to the same murder Mommy did. Adia Banderit is in the interview room. Talk to her.
So, you know our family secret? Yes. My mother suffered from a rare form of age-related macular degeneration. She needed a specialist, but my father wouldn't hear of it. Doing so would humiliate him. So he performed a surgery for which he was in no way qualified, and now my mother is nearly blind. I only recently found out, and I was angry as hell. But I swear I didn't kill him. He was a stupidly proud, often cruel man, but he was my father.
Nearly blind?
Yes, my mother has very limited sight. She's not 100% blind. I just heard that my mother confessed. She's trying to take the blame from me. Surely you can see that she's sacrificing herself for me.
Still hazy. Why don't you clear it up?
I did it, obviously. I swear. I wore the robe, killed my father. You've gotten the picture, right? How horrible he was to her? She was chattel. That sexist traditional nonsense was bad enough, but then his pride robbed her of her very eyesight. He was gonna separate Mother and me if I didn't marry that pathetic weasel. I couldn't stand for that. For any of it. I killed him. I killed him. I'd kill him again if I could. Arrest me. Let my poor sweet mother go.
Not that simple. Both you and Mom have motive and opportunity. But one of you is lying.